Hello, welcome to part 7 or module 7 part 2 of our Windows Server 2012 course. In module 7 part 1 we spoke about failover clustering, and that the agenda was as follow. We covered the first uh, 4 parts under the monitorings, and the second part we're going to cover another 4 topics. To start with, it will be the innovation in cluster shared volumes. The cluster shared volumes CSV feature was introduced 28R2 to simplify the configuration and management of clustered VMs. With CSV, multiple cluster VMs can use the same LAN or disk and still live during the migration or quick migration between the node independently to each other basically. Overview of the CSV. CSV is distributed file access solution that provide multiple nodes in a cluster with simultaneous access to the same file system. VMs or applications that run on CSV are no longer bound to storage, and they can share common disk to reduce number of LANs as shown in the diagram below. Live migration of VMs become faster because volume ownership do not require changes. What CSV delivered in 2012 and what enhancement we have. In 2012, CSV support new feature in addition to the feature we already know about 28R2. CSV continues to support VMs and has enhanced the following feature. The expansion of CSV support more workload, including file server for large scale out apps and data. Enhance the backup and restore of CSV. Integration with a new file system such as copy offload, defragmentation of CSV, and online corruption repair. Multi-subnet support and simplified setup of CSV for fail cluster manager. Also support for SMB message block 2 for file-based storage, and later on we will see in 2016 as well and what improvement Microsoft added to the SMB v3. Now, what CSV delivered in 2012? Better VM machine creation and copying experience, because copying can be performed from any node with the same high performance. Supporting for BitLocker, volume encryption, improve the read and the write to increase the performance for multi-subnet support. Also improvement around CSV for direct assignment scenarios. The last part will be improvement around memory mapping within the CSV. Now, CSV proxy file system. CSV volume appear in the CSVS underlying technology, still the NTFS, and volumes still formatted with the NTFS because volumes appear as CSVFS. Application can discover them and they are running on CSV, which help improvement the compatibility. CSV provides single consistent file namespace, and in Windows 2012 CSV standard mount points for better interoperability with performance counter, system center, operation manager, SCOM, and monitoring the volumes and file system mini filter driver, which help around the coexistence or the interoperability for backup softwares. Multiple subnet or multi-subnet support for cluster shared volume. In 2012, CSV has been enhanced to integrate with SMB multi-channel. This will give us faster throughput for CSV volume, especially around working with redirected mode. Apps can basically have faster data access even if the CSV in redirected mode. CSV traffic can now stream across multiple networks, which deliver improved throughput or performance with read and write around large file, leveraging SMB over remote direct memory access or RDMA adapters. security and encryption enhancement support around 2012. BitLocker its support running on 2012 volumes, and both traditional cluster disk and CSV, each node performed decryption by utilizing the computer account itself. Account also called cluster's name object. This helped basically around physical security for deployment outside of secure data. Other enhancement around backup file with CSV. In 2012, CSV helped achieve seamless backup both application and request. Distribution of the CSV backup infrastructure software, either utilizing snapshotting and coordination of the snapshot creation. Support for parallel backup with CSV volume. Application can consistent and crash consistent without the VMSS. With the VSS, it's help around basically snapshotting for open files. Also increase support for both hardware and software backup. And the last part around improvement again with backup, around incremental backup and support for using server backup with CSV option. File backup with CSV, high level, how that will look like, the disk to the front end, either web services, SQL or Exchange, and the volume presented to the requester. Other improvement and validation around cluster validation and deployment. It has been improved around failover cluster validation, improved AD, domain integration, enhanced wizard of the migrating setting from one cluster to another, and support for load balancing and failover, and support for sysprep for installing failover cluster node. Let's have a look at each one of these 5 sections. With the cluster failover validation improvement, the validation wizard for the failover inside the failover cluster manager simplify the process of validation of software and examining the hardware, storage, network to make sure it is with the best practice or basically to pass all the testing. Faster validation, testing especially around storage validation to make sure everything's ready for the clustering, and targeting validation for the new launch for creation and time it's taking to test the storage. Also integration with validation of the WMI cluster, either exposing through Windows or running a script, and new validation test for the CSV for the admin and config, and the last part around the new validation for Hyper-V and VMs. Other improved AD domain services integration, significant improvement around the interaction to improve working with AD. Admin can now deploy cluster and have access to read-only domain control as well. Creation of computer objects within the right OUs or required OU when a failover cluster is initially created, and the corresponding objects are basically associated with an AD, and you can basically prevent the accidental deletion. Also the cluster network name resource has an health check logic within basically check within AD. Other enhanced settings for cluster, the wizard let admin to migrate configure settings between the nodes, supporting copying configuration across, also migrating the config between application that coexist on 28, R2 and 2012. This table shows the other enhancement around the PowerShell. You can see the following PowerShell on the left hand side, either adding checkpoint, creating clusters, removing cluster, troubleshooting, testing, whatever you can do with the GUI, the enhancement also touching PowerShell. So if you are not up to speed with PowerShell, I would recommend to brush your experience around PowerShell. The last part around multi-site cluster improvement in 2012, it's a bit different. So 2008, admin could configure quorum to include nodes. A quorum is a collection of voting entities for which majority must be online for the cluster to function. However, quorum configuration include nodes. All nodes were treated equally in terms of the vote. In 2008, cluster quorum, and 2012, setting can be adjusted so that when cluster determines whether it has a quorum, some nodes have a vote and they can contribute. The adjustment as shown below, which basically help around basically implementing across multiple sites and prioritizing either you have voting or non voting. So in this scenario we have 4 nodes, and if one is down, and then you go like 3 nodes, and your vote will basically getting count. Again, depending on the deployment and the size of the cluster. That was the last part for our module 7 part 2. And yeah, as I mentioned, that was the last topic. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you learned some useful information, please do go through this again and again until you feel you are familiar with it. And I shall see you again on part 8 of Windows 2012 new improvement. Thank you for